Welcome back to Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week. I'm Christy, and today we have some outtakes for you. Now, normally I just go back and pull together a collection of outtakes from a variety of episodes for you, but today I'm doing something just a tiny bit different for our first outtakes episode of the summer. I've pulled together some outtakes about The Handmaid's Tale, so we have a little bit of a theme. We'll go back to our regularly scheduled type of outtakes episodes next time, but today I thought it would be super fun to have a little bit of a theme. So this first little bit of an outtake comes from our episode on iZombie. We were talking about television shows that we like to watch with our spouses or alone. So there's different kinds that we like to watch by ourselves and ones that our spouses also enjoy watching. So The Handmaid's Tale and iZombie are not ones that our spouses enjoy watching with us. So we kind of talk about that, but that's what leads us into this Handmaid's Tale discussion. We went on for a little while about it. So I really enjoyed it, but it was totally not on theme for iZombie. So that's why we cut it, and here it is for you now. And he worked with Diane Rugia-Wright, who was a writer and producer in Veronica Mars and this show, and Bates Motel.
I loved that.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
You didn't like it so much.
Yeah. I think we watched a few episodes and I had a hard time getting into it.
Man.
But I was trying to watch it with my husband, and I tend to be a little more critical of things when I watch with him. Like if he's not into it, I might be like, well, maybe I don't need to watch this anymore either. Not because I am that easily influenced, but I'm like, well, if he doesn't want to watch it,
it won't be fun.
This is the kind of show that's more fun to watch with somebody else. And if I can't talk to him about it, I don't want to watch it.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Because just recently, my husband and I were trying to get back into Handmaid's Tale because he has not finished what is out yet.
Okay.
So it was like, okay. But every time he watches it, he's just not into it.
Okay.
But then it's like he tries to convince himself that he is. And so this past week, I like literally went on the mission of telling him to stop watching this show.
Oh, there you go.
Because like I just felt like you don't like it. Well, I'm sure it's not going to change.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. My husband has a very mixed relationship with Handmaid's Tale, which I guess we'll just talk about it now. We're going to talk about the first episode of season 3 next time, because the next time we release an episode, the season 4 will have just premiered.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yes, me too.
I'm so excited about that. So.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. But my husband, he wants to know what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. But he never feels good about it.
No, same with my husband. He's like, he's not invested in June.
Okay.
He is because he wants to know what's happening, but he's actually more invested in some of the other characters. And I'm like, listen, they exist because of her. Like, everything is going to revolve around her experience of it. And so when she has an episode where she's doing a lot of reconciling her past, like with her mom or something like that, he's just not into it. Mm-mm. He is not there for that. And he feels like it's super slow. And I feel like all kinds of information is being revealed.
Right.
And I don't know. I guess that's interesting that both of them don't. And now I have a question. Like, is this not well received by men?
It's not that he is not invested in June, my husband. Mm-hmm. It's more that it feels a little too real. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm kind of watching television to get away from this stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is a little too close to home.
Okay.
So it's maybe a little too, though. Welcome to my world. This is exactly how I feel about it, is that it's a little too salient for something that was written in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It's a little too on the nose right now.
I'm like taking notes so that I know my bug out options. Uh-huh. I'm like, yes, I'm reminding myself of what to pay attention to. Uh-huh. It is a little real. Although I think my husband feels the opposite, that it's just so unreal. And I don't know. That might be a step too far. He may not believe that, but I get this impression that that's why it's hard for him to resonate with.
Oh, that he feels like it's implausible.
Yeah.
And I feel like with every passing year, it's more plausible.
Yeah. Yes.
Interesting. All right, so I know that was just a few minutes, but it was super fun, and I wanted to go ahead and include that here because it totally wasn't on theme for iZombie, but it was a fun little bit of discussion. We're going to take a super quick break. We'll be back at you in just 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Celeste.
Hi, I'm Richard.
Hey, I'm Christy.
And I'm Tally.
We're the hosts of Unethical Podcast. Every episode, we take a humorous dive into a case study that poses an ethical question, like, should mentally ill murderers ever be released?
No.
When a victim consents to die, is it still a murder?
Yep.
And does someone telling someone to kill themselves make you culpable if they do?
Nah.
We discuss what the outcomes of these cases are and what they should be, with a unique guest host every episode, assuming someone is brave enough to join us.
Richard needs some more testosterone around here.
Nah, I think it's mostly coming from Celeste.
Girls are mean.
We will also explore the supernatural, the theoretical, and the conspiratorial. We'll talk about what's underground, what's above the sky, what's hiding in the dark, and what makes you see the light.
What about what's in your closet?
I want to believe. God damn, I love Dana Scully.
You need a minute?
Are you guys watching? Because that helps.
I wish I was a tree.
But when does a fun story become a dangerous influence? When is fiction actually fact?
The last time I checked, those words meant the opposite.
It doesn't matter. Our podcast is no holds barred, true crime, comedy, adult content, and definitely not for everybody.
But like most people aren't like can handle swear words and stuff, right? Am I right about that?
No.
No.
But if you, like us, have trauma-fueled coping mechanisms, join us each week and visit a destination you can't unvisit.
The dark side.
You can subscribe wherever you eat your podcasts to listen. Follow us on Instagram, where we post our teasers to guess what's coming next. And join us on Facebook to get involved in the conversation. Welcome to Unethical Podcast.
All right, the rest of our outtakes, well, most of them for this episode are from our discussion on season 3, episode 1. Actually, we were very self-editing when it came to the first episode of season 4. So I don't have anything from that particular episode, but I have lots of great stuff from the first episode of season 3. Lots of things that we just didn't have time to get to in the main episode. So there's plenty here. We have some flubs. The Entertainment Weekly review is frustrated there's no resolution. Over the break, we talked about The Assistant, which is a movie. We talk about trauma-informed design and how its architecture is used in hospitals. A really heartbreaking article from WBUR, and some opinions that we have about The Servant, the Apple TV show. Well, one is really important. So, Entertainment Weekly seemed to hope for things to move a little more rapidly. Kristin Baldwin reviewed the 3rd season of Handmaid's Tale about halfway through its run. I was angry with myself for daring to imagine that the writers were any closer to offering us a resolution. I'm starting to get the same wishy-washy vibe from Lawrence, who the show presents alternatively as sinister genius with benevolent undertones and sinister genius with even more sinister overtones, which I'm like, yeah, because it takes you a while to figure him out. And I would say even at the end of the 3rd season, you don't quite have him figured out.
Oh, no.
I think we're going to get some answers to that in the 4th season based on the few things that I've read before.
Well, this is a show that doesn't have just good guys and bad guys.
Right. They're complex characters.
There's good guys, and then there's people who are good guys and bad guys. Which is how I see it, which makes it a little weird, because I see June as being a good person with normal flaws. And then I see all these other people as being more like, I don't know, Game of Thrones type characters, where it's like you're equally good and bad and complex. So I just can't nail you down. I can't pin you as a bad guy who has some good moments either, or a good guy with bad moments. But June and the Marthas and all these people, I can totally pin up as good people with normal character flaws. But that's because I don't see where I go.
I do see where you go. See, and Josh does not particularly like June.
What? Hold the what?
He just doesn't like her all that much.
Okay, Ken doesn't really much either, I don't think. And I don't get it.
And it's interesting because I'm like, June and I, we'd be friends.
Oh, I don't get it.
She and I, we'd go in, guns a-blazing.
What has he been able to?
No, he just doesn't articulate it, but he doesn't feel like, I kind of think it maybe is a little bit that he wants a completely good heroine. The normal, expectable character flaws, he wants them to not exist. He wants June to be a hero through and through, like Superman, always good and always doing the right thing and always measured and equal. But June's human and super flawed. And
also oppressed and in slavery. So
exactly.
I don't think that, when I say the character flaws, I'm really thinking about as a person before Gilead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll see. And I think he likes that June.
Really? Because that's the June I'm kind of like, come on, a little bit about sometimes. So it's kind of funny. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess maybe I do extend an extreme amount of grace to the character of June in Gilead, because she should not be thinking clearly.
No.
Ever. She's always a slave. She is always oppressed. And she is always going to be fighting an uphill battle. And if she acts, quote unquote, good, that means she is adhering to her slaved rules.
Right.
And I think that's hard, because I'm like, no, that is such an insult to humanity.
Right. Well, he doesn't want her to be a hero within the confines. He wants her to be a hero without flaws. And she's a human being, so she's flawed. Mm-hmm. She's not a superhero. She's not Robo June.
Yeah, I guess I get that.
Which, it's fine. He'll watch it with me.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, that's also fine. I'll watch it without him.
People like Serena Joy, those characters, where they do seem to really oscillate. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's probably a real place for Serena Joy to be, for these people who have such guilt but thought they were doing the right thing, and now they're in a severe existential crisis about who they are and what they believe. And so it makes them oscillate, and it's hard to nail down. Whereas for those who know they're in a complete unjust society, I have a lot more grace for the issues where they oscillate, because they're oscillating between, hey, in this moment, do I need to play the game, or can I throw shade? Mm-hmm. And which one's going to be most effective? And you don't always get that right when you're fighting the injustice from within.
That's fair.
Not even when you're fighting it from without. in diplomacy, let alone within. So.
Yeah. Shuford says... Shuford? Nope.
Shuford?
Nope. Shoemaker says the destruction of the Waterford house feels more like a major change and more... Nope. Let me say that again. Messed up her name and I read the quote wrong. Oh. Right.
I think we'll have another bonus episode for this.
Oh, yeah.
I got words. I got thoughts. I got all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Ken doesn't like this, but he likes The Assistant. The movie The Assistant.
Mm-hmm. Which she was just victimized, right?
No, she did nothing.
Oh.
The assistant is just the assistant who realizes what's happening. And how does she handle it?
She doesn't?
No.
She handles it not at all?
Not at all. Oh. As in, not at all. She tries a little, to do some things and then realizes that everybody knows what's going on. And then I think in the end, she like quits her job.
So she does nothing to help the situation.
Like she's legitimately...
She just removes herself from it when she realizes it's problematic.
Yeah, and doesn't like do anything. So like talk about the anti-hero. About how like... And it's a slow burn. Like there's lots of slow pushes on staplers and pencils and stuff. And it's very, very artsy. And
he really likes that.
He loves it. He loves it because for him, it depicted the struggle of a woman being in the office and realizing what's happening and how does she handle it. Like he felt like he really resonated with that. But this he can't. I'm like, I wish he was better at communicating because I feel like there's something there. Like,
there's a disconnect. That seems like you should be able to put together, but it's like magnets that you can almost push them together, and then they go.
And I don't get what's in between. I don't know what's pushing it. I don't know what's connecting them either.
Huh.
And so, especially because this has so many slow burns. Yeah. Like he hates the fact that there's so many shots of her walking.
Like that's the whole point. Mm-hmm. Is there's the walking and the thinking and the doing the things, and the walking becomes so important later when they're dropping the soap into her bag.
That's what they do. And so it's so symbolic. But like the slow push on her doing office work and the assistant, I couldn't what is this for? I don't...
Just her looking pretty or what?
And she does. She looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
And June doesn't most of the time.
Well,
even though Elizabeth Moss is drop dead gorgeous and they had to dirty her up to make her look like this.
Right.
It does. It brings up a lot of weird questions. I'll tell you.
Well, I think ultimately this is not a tale for men. It's not a story that was ever meant to resonate with men. And have you watched the Margaret Atwood biography sort of thing? It's on Hulu.
Okay.
And it talks about like her feminist work in the 70s.
Okay.
And like this, you can see all of it. Like The Handmaid's Tale was a culmination
of all
of so much.
I just wish that men who could resonate with the Me Too movement and how hard it must have been for people working in that office, which to me feels like the beginning. It's definitely representative of a culture, but like seems so simple to me. I mean, on the other hand, I get it. You quit. What can you do? You're going to bring down Harvey. It's a Harvey Weinstein story, but it's not Harvey Weinstein in the movie, right? I get it. What are you going to do except quit and walk away? Except that in the movie, it doesn't depict her walking away from the industry in I won't be a part of this. It's like just like I'm
going to go work in a better environment.
No, just like her quitting and then like going to the diner. It's like, it was so subtle. He had to remind me that she actually quit in the movie. Because it was like, really? Did she? I don't know. She stapled a lot of paper. And the printer, it always worked for her.
Oh.
Which was like, okay, now we know we're in a fantasy land.
Have you seen that meme? Rage Against the Machine. You've seen it?
She works down at she is a chemist in a lab and or whatever she does. Like biology and all of this stuff. So she posted it and she was like, I bet it was a mass spec. And then I put the gif of the printer thing.
Yeah, from Office Space.
That is so funny. I was like, yep. Mm-hmm. That's what I think about that. So,
yeah.
Yes.
Amen.
Rage Against the Machine. All right.
It was probably a printer.
Probably was a printer.
All right. Okay.
Here we go.
All right. So we're back. No, I don't say that anymore.
No.
Damn it. So there was a really large open feeling in the hospital that Emily and Nicole arrive at. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like freeing, but the openness is a little overwhelming, but also kind of comforting, which is an interesting dichotomy. But this particular type of architecture is called trauma-informed design.
Interesting.
Which I had no idea about it. And this particular architecture firm had on their website an article by Anne Marie Garcia. They were talking about how 70% of adults in the United States have experienced trauma at some point, and fully 20% have some sort of PTSD from it. And that at any given time, 5% of Americans, more than 13 million people, are struggling with the effects of PTSD. Mm-hmm. So it's a big deal, and that has only been increased by the pandemic because it's a very traumatizing sort of thing. And the political unrest and racial tensions, all of that that's happening in the United States really make this kind of design really important. And that our surroundings directly inform our nervous, endocrine, and immune systems. For an individual with PTSD, a poorly designed space can be particularly detrimental to their healing process, which I just thought was so interesting. And the idea that they would have large open spaces with high ceilings, minimal barriers, so it can make you feel safer. We had talked about this when we talked about Skid Row with the crime story episode that we did, about how people who have been unhoused, when they're put into a building and they're suddenly in an enclosed space, it can be really difficult for them to adjust because they're used to seeing around them. So when, I don't know if you've noticed this, but very often when you go into hospitals, particularly the first places that you enter, maybe not in the emergency room, but in like the waiting areas and check-in areas and things like that, they have very high ceilings. They might have a mezzanine that goes up 2 or 3 floors, really open. That's part of this trauma-informed design. It was just really interesting about what kind of furniture you choose. You want to choose soft furniture, but you want to face it towards the windows.
Door and window?
Yeah, towards the door and windows with their back to a secure wall so that they can feel like they're safe and protected, and seeing the outdoors can be really helpful because you can see what's coming, but nature is also really calming. They talked about using nature photos as art rather than abstract designs because those can be kind of threatening.
Right.
So it was just super, super interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Actually, it's interesting because, I mean, there was a hospital that we were at in Korea, Samsung Hospital, and the design was very similar. The main hallways were like that, all mezzanine, all very high, lots of nature walks and lots of windows. So it was actually reminded me very much of it. But it's hard to imagine that you need to do that. But when you think about the stats and that one I think said 76, I think 80%, other studies show like 80% of people have experienced an event that would be designated as a trauma.
Okay.
So, and then they say that anywhere between, like 10% give or take develop full PTSD. But, but when you add in delayed onset, which is a thing, delayed onset PTSD, and others, it does kind of push it up. The prevalence is much higher than we realize, which should make us all a little bit more graceful towards each other, number one. But I love the idea that we need to design our spaces better. I don't know why we've gotten away from that in some ways, but we design spaces that are terrifying to people. Like something where the exit is just not even readily available. It's difficult to get through, or, a secondary exit. If you have a main door, it might be busy, but the secondary exits are kind of hard to get through. And it's stifling.
Well, and you can see why they might not want to have that in a hospital too, particularly like in a maternity ward. You don't want to have the exits that are so easily available that somebody can go snatch a baby from somebody's room and run out the door. Yep. But at the same time, you need to have the exits readily available, because what if there's a fire? What if there's somebody who's had trauma? Who are these 20 to 30% of people who haven't had any trauma?
I don't know.
I would like to know. Because
I would like to know too. Trauma level. It's really only, really only like 20% haven't really had it. And it's hard because trauma is personal. Right. So what constitutes a trauma it can vary a bit, only because of the perception and the complications. So what might be a trauma in one situation maybe isn't so much of a trauma when you remove certain factors. Okay. So you can't be so arbitrary about like this instance is that, except for a few certain larger level things. But there are medical trauma. For some people, depending on the factors and the level of support they had, maybe they don't view a chronic illness or something as a trauma, but others might. So you get some of that gray area too.
Okay.
Or you really have to just go by how it was received and how it was taken, not necessarily. And that's where people just need to extend grace, because just because you had an accident or had a car accident and it wasn't traumatizing, and somebody else had a car accident and it was, and they have PTSD from it, you can't necessarily compare those two events and say, well, a car accident doesn't fit the test.
Right. Well,
no,
right.
That's not really how it works.
Yeah. Well, because it's also personal. It's a matter of what's built up and your own personality and history and your brain chemistry and
how did it happen?
Yeah.
How did the accident happen?
Right. What was it? Just you got hit out of nowhere, or were you arguing with somebody before it happened?
Right. Were your kids in the car or not?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you have PTSD because of the fear you had about your kids' lives being threatened. Not necessarily. So you can't. Yeah, everything's not just completely comparable. But yeah, 80%. That's huge.
It's huge. But I don't know who those 20% are who aren't experiencing it. I don't know any of them. Not one. I don't think. Serena and June both did what was best for Nicole, which was send her away. And they did that not only for her physical health, but her mental health. And sometimes that's the most loving thing that we can do. So several years ago, WBUR had a really interesting article about a family that had a child. And from the time he was 4 years old, he had suicidal thoughts. And at one point even begged his mother, I can't kill myself, do it for me. And she was like, this is the only sacrifice I can't make for you. And, it was a very challenging mental disorder that this kid had. And it was a decade after that, nearly, that they struggled with this in their home, in their family, trying to get him the help he needs, keep him safe, all of these different things. And child psychiatrist friend of theirs finally said, maybe this isn't the best place for him. And of course, the mother's like, no, of course, with me is the best place for my child. They didn't do it. It was just, it's a brain chemistry thing. It was nothing that they did to traumatize this child. But after struggling with it for a decade, maybe you need to try something different. And they made the most loving and difficult decision that they could, was that they sent him to an inpatient facility that provided education and routine and different things. And it was hard for her to balance those and to come to terms with it after several years at this place. She says, now when we visit our son on weekends, we see a boy at last begun to map his way through his own private wilderness of hurt. This boy, once possessed by dread and futility, talks about the future, college, work, romantic love. He has decided he wants to live. Aww. And the hard truth is, sometimes love and fight and dogged effort simply aren't enough. And I was like, so heartbreaking to see the mom who made the choice. I mean, June could have gone with her child, but she decided not to abandon the other child. But she recognized that Nicole needed to get out. Yeah. And so she made this huge sacrifice. And Serena Joy, even for all her faults, she also made that sacrifice.
She knew it. She knew that the child would be better off.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Which is so awful.
Yeah.
People are like, well, June, could have gone. Like, Nick is so mad. Like, you could have gone. But she would rather stay and suffer with her daughter, because that was it was a higher decision. It was more honorable. It was more honorable to stay and suffer with her daughter until she could break the system. But Nicole's an infant.
Right.
And had an opportunity to get out, whereas Hannah didn't.
Well, and she trusted that Emily would care for her long enough to get her out and maybe care for her for as long as she needed. But she also trusted her relationship with Luke that if somebody handed him this baby, this gift, he would take it.
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's amazing. And that is a mother's decision. I mean, the thing I think about with the Serena Doy and with like the other, like Agnes's mom, if you're thinking of Hannah as, you know, as that mother's child, is like the Solomon story about the two mothers fighting over the child. And it's like, well, then I'll just cut the baby in half. And only the mother would say, no, she can have him.
Right.
Because they would save the life. And it's kind of that wisdom story, you know.
Yeah.
Only the real one would say, okay, I will back off. And that's what June does. That she makes the decision that she wasn't going to abandon her, but that she would not let the baby be torn in half over the fight, even if she was right.
Yeah. Oh.
And yet, on the other hand, should he be charged? Oh, ethics.
Yeah. There's a lot of nuance there.
There's a lot of nuance.
Well, and you know, he was home playing video games. Maybe he was also stoned, and you know, or whatever. There's extenuating circumstances which made them not want to call the police in.
I can't help but think of Servant, the Apple show.
Yeah.
This is everything.
Okay. Yes. This
is the whole show.
The entire show.
Which I know it's not billed this way, but to me, it's a dark comedy. It's a dark horror comedy. I laugh hysterically every show. It's so bad. I know they didn't intend it this way, but I'm like, they are nailing the dark comedy on this show, y'all. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I also enjoyed it, but that's another one that my husband was like, he got like 6 episodes into the second season. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah. He didn't even watch it again.
He was like, no, I'm like, I'll watch it without y'all. It's fine.
Oh, it's hilarious. Of course, the lead in that show, all I can see is her from, what's this silly teen movie? Oh, the one where the boyfriend's like Jenny and Amanda. Oh, come on. Can't Hardly Wait.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She was in Can't Hardly Wait?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
Do you remember the movie well?
No, I don't remember it well at all.
Because if you saw a picture from her then, you're going to go, oh, my gosh, that was her. Yeah. It was one of those. Anyway, I digress.
All of the sources that we use to inform our discussion here on Killer Fun Podcast can be found on our social media. Join us on Facebook at Killer Fun Podcast, exploring the intersection of crime and entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod, or you can send us an email at killerfunpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to share a link to whatever information you're looking for. We love to hear from you. You might learn a little something too. This last bit was actually in our episode about the talented Mr. Ripley, but it's worth playing here again because it talks just a bit with 0 spoilers about the finale of The Handmaid's Tale, which Jackie had not watched when we last recorded, but I had and loved, and I was just totally on board. And we're going to talk more about The Handmaid's Tale. And
we have so much stuff on that.
We do have.
Because we could talk about that for ages.
Yes. And the finale was amazing.
I haven't watched the finale yet. I'm still catching up with the new episodes. Because it was like chaotic this week. And this is the week I probably would have watched it. But everything went sideways.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I got one episode in this
everything
week.
Did go sideways for you.
Talk about giving up AC.
Oh, it was the best Handmaid's Tale episode ever.
Oh, gee whiz, really?
It was so good.
I foresee
and it was
late nights in my future.
One of the best episodes of any show I've seen this year.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I can't wait.
It's so good.
It's been good so far?
Yeah. And that's all we have for you today. I know this is a little bit of a shorter episode than you're accustomed to from us, but next time I'll have tons more outtakes. Lots of fun stuff, interesting stuff, deep, wonderful discussions. We hope that you will absolutely join us. Be sure to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts and tell a friend, because it's way more fun when you can listen with a friend and say, boy, Kristy got that wrong, or Jackie has some amazing insight, and talk about it. And we would love to help facilitate a discussion with someone that you know. Until next time, be safe, be kind, and wash your hands.
Da, da, da.